Hey y'all, Natalie here today with Technique Tuesday for a cherry on top. And this month we're focusing on watercolors. So I'm doing this layout of me and my little brother. I'm just showing you the supplies I'm using. I'm kind of drawing from the shirt I'm wearing. It's black with yellow flowers. So I'm doing black, white, and yellow and gray. And I have that whole page of journaling. I'm going to use this awesome Catherine Pooler stamp that I've had for a while, but I don't know that I've ever used it on screen. I'm using my Distress Oxide. So I did a little poll you can see there in the left on the Cherries Facebook page, and I asked what type of watercolors you guys wanted me to use. And by not too much, you said you would like to see me do stamping inks as watercolors. So that's what I'm doing. On this white cardstock, I have used clear gesso. And I am using my stamping platform just because it's such a large stamp. And I'm using fossilized amber Distress Oxide. And I'm stamping in the middle of the page. It doesn't have to be perfect because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my my brush to kind of fade out some of the stamping and turn it into watercolor. And this is just one way that you can use your stamping inks as watercolor. I'll show you more later. But as you can see there, I'm leaving some of the stamped image. I like it to kind of look distressed and faded. So I like the crisp image to fade into some watercolor. So that's the look I'm going for. And so you have to use gesso or watercolor paper to achieve this look. So there you have it, but I want more color. So I'm just putting the fossilized amber ink down onto my glass mat. You can also put it onto, acetate, the backing of some sticker paper, whatever. Just anything that it's not going to soak into. And I just add water to it and use it just like paint. And because it is Distress Oxides, it's kind of changing color a little bit. You can kind of see a pink, and when I do this hickory smoke, this gray, there's definitely some pink or like a purple tinge coming through, but that's okay. I like that. But if you use the Distress ink or just any other ink, this works with any stamping ink pretty much, then it probably wouldn't change colors as much, but you kind of just have to play with everything to figure out if it is going to change or not, because I know sometimes it can. And the gesso you use and the paper you use, everything affects it. So just play around. But I stamped the hickory smoke on top of the fossilized amber. And I'm doing the same technique, just kind of fading it out. But again, it wasn't enough color for me. So I'm doing the same technique. I'm putting the ink down on the glass, and then I am spraying it with water and adding the water just like paint. Yeah, and so I'm really liking how that looks. I don't really care about the edges too much because I am going to trim down the paper to fit on that background paper. And so you see I dropped my ink pad, but because I have gesso on the page, I could just turn that into additional splotch of watercolor. And again, I'm going to trim it down so it didn't really bother me too much. Sorry if you hear some noises and my dog is being naughty. So there you have it. I'm super happy with how that looks. I like it so much. So now I'm going to go through and add splatter. Most of the time when I use watercolors on a background, I go through a second layer and add splatter just to add like an extra layer of dimension. I feel like it gives just a little oomph to the page, right? So I'm using a very small paintbrush to add very pretty little tiny splatters. So some of the other options for watercolors on this layout were powdered watercolors or liquid watercolors, which I have a metallic set. So I might do those later as well. So make sure to check out my Instagram or my YouTube channel to see those. So this time I just spread the ink pad onto this watercolor page because I want to use it to die cut. So you could see, look, it was so funny when you add the water, it looks so pink, but then when it dries, the pink kind of goes away, doesn't it? So again, I'm just going through and adding that second layer of splatter. And I just love how different it looks when you turn it into a watercolor rather than the Distress Oxide just swiped onto the page as is. So I've let the paper dry completely. And now I'm going to get ready to trim it down and put it onto this background paper. So I'm trimming a good chunk off. At the top and bottom, I'm going to do 1 inch on each side. And then on the others, each side, I'm only going to do, I think, 1/2 inch maybe. So it's going to be a rectangular piece of paper. But there you have it. And then I use this great little, what's the color? Mustard yellow floral paper from the 6x8 paper pad by Amy Tangerine from her collection from last year. And I'm just going to use little strips of that to add to the top and the bottom of the white paper, as well as it's going to back my main photo. So I have 2 photos. There's one photo of us when we were little or younger, and then a recent photo of me and my brother. And I wanted to use them both, but when I put them side by side, I just couldn't figure out a color palette because they're different tones. Everything about we're wearing different colors. Like, it wasn't working for me. So I decided to hide the older photo behind the newer photo, and you can use it as a pull-out tab and just kind of reach down to see a picture of us when we were young, which is a throwback to last month's Technique Tuesday, which was Hidden Elements. So I'm using this really old, thicker sheet, and I was basically out of all the letters that I need, but I'm going to edit them down to give me the ones I need. So I'm changing that 3 into an E. And my title is 9.5 years, 9.5 years, because that's what our difference in ages is. And so it's just like a phrase that we've always heard ever since he's been around. I trimmed down that G to an A, made the N into an R, and then I even made that X into an S. And so once you like squish it down and glue it, it looks perfectly like an S. But they were black glitter, and so I want to bring some black glitter into the page to kind of bring out the black background paper. Now I'm making my hidden elements, so I'm using this pop-up foam tape, and I'm just going to put it all the way around 3 sides of the background paper behind my photo, and it will pop it off the page. I was going to do 2 levels, but actually 1 level was sufficient. It gave enough clearance for the card that I'm going to put my hidden photo on to slide in and out. So I'm just going to trim that card down and then trim the photo down. I'm using that to measure. And then I'm going to trim the photo down to fit on that card with a little bit of a border. But I made sure to keep it long or tall in order to reach down to the bottom of that pattern paper and still have enough sticking out to add a tab and let someone know that they should reach into the page and kind of pull it out, if that makes sense. You'll see here in a few moments. So I'm going to use that little tab from the Keeping It Real sticker sheet, and I'm going to fold it over on top of the white cardstock, and then that will be the tab that you can use to pull out. And I'm writing on it, it's going to say throwback, because it's a throwback photo of the 2 of us. And I did this story of me and my brother from a prompt from the Scrap Gals podcast. Every month they're doing life stories prompts, and so I am trying to tell some of those stories when I feel the urge to, and so I liked this one. I kind of took it in a different direction than what they suggested, but you know what? I got a good long story told about me and my brother, so that's cool. And I just embellished that little pullout a little tiny bit, and now I'm going to commit to putting the background watercolor paper down onto the pattern paper. And I'm really loving how that looks. I wasn't sure at the beginning, like I said, when I was trying to fit both pictures on the page, I wasn't sure where we were going with this. But I'm glad that I just went with the 1 photo, and it matches really well. Even the editing that I did kind of has a yellow tint to it, so it worked out. So there's the leaves. I used the Skeletal Sizzix die cuts by Tim Holtz that everyone seemed to love from, I think, our blog hop earlier this month. So I used those on that watercolor paper that I put the smoke color on, as well as a black glitter paper, and that goes with the black glitter thickers that you saw me editing earlier. So I'm just going to make 3 little clusters of leaves to put around the title. And And then when I was like putting the title down, I kind of realized like 9.5 years, it almost sounded like I was saying something like an anniversary or something, which is funny because it's my brother. But then I thought, well, you know what? It can grab the reader's attention. That's what I'm trying to do, right? And somebody might look at it and be like, wait, what? And so then they'll have to read the journaling to see what I'm talking about there. So I commit to sticking the photo down, and now I'm just going to use my Nuvo adhesive because it does have a lot of gesso on the page and other inks, so you want to make sure you have a good adhesive, and I'm going to use that to stick down. I mostly just glue down like the bottom portion of the leaf so that I can kind of bend up the top portion and they can give like you a 3D element, right? So I do that in 3 sections around the page to create a visual triangle. I'm going to cut out a little of this in a second so you don't have to watch all of it. But and then I'm going to make sure to use adhesive on my thickers just to make sure that they last for a good long time and I don't open my scrapbook and find them at the bottom of the page protector. But yeah, I edited those letters and you can't really even tell. I'm kind of excited about the way that worked out because I'm getting a lot of use out of those glitter letters. So I was going to embellish, and then I thought, you know what? I'm really loving the watercolor background. There's not much I need to do. So I just grabbed my glossy accents because I really want it to stick, but I'm going to put these black enamel dots that do not already have adhesive on them all around the page. I'm just going to sprinkle them. But I like the contrast that the matte black gives with all the glitter and the color, and it just gives this pop of black in a few places around the page. And I thought that was a good finishing touch. So I'll have my journaling in a 6x12 page on the other side. And yeah, I'm super happy with how this turned out. Please let me know if you have any questions, put them down below, and I'll try to check back periodically and answer them. Jess is going to put the links down below to the store and all the fun watercolor products that you can find there. They literally have something for everyone. And you can find more on my YouTube channel as well, Natalie Dill. Thank you guys so much for watching. Y'all have a great day.